This is Connor High, and welcome back to the Wild Snake Radio Sports Hour at Stevenson University, where this week we're going to start by covering Week 9 in the NFL. And let's start with the Sunday Night Football game of last night. That was the Commanders versus the Seahawks. Lots to talk about this one, and we're going to put the Seahawks to the side for a second. Let's focus on the Commanders, because this is a train wreck of a team right now, and it's really one of the more unfortunate stories you're ever going to see. I saw a post yesterday. It said 10 starters are out for them, and you go through each one, and they're all serious injuries. The Jaden Daniels injury last night was something I wish I hadn't watched. It was a really, really gruesome, fortunately not his throwing arm, but really gruesome injury. The team is banged up. As much as I can remember any team being injured ever, that's what the Commanders are. They're injured, they're old, and they don't have a ton of draft picks. They don't have a second-round pick this year. They gave it up in the Lattimore trade. And the players that were performing well last year aren't really doing that this year. Bobby Wagner is looking old. Frankie Luvu is looking old. The defense is looking terrible as a whole. And there's no edge rushers on this team at all. I thought Chris Collinsworth really hit the nail when he said, when they blitz, they don't get there. And when they don't get there, the corners are not good enough to keep up with anybody, really. They don't have good corners. And it's really just a recurring cycle, and this team is going to keep going through it. And I think this is going to be one of those regression years that a lot of people saw coming, but I don't think people expected the injuries that we've seen. Jaden Daniels out. Luke McCaffrey's out. And I know Luke McCaffrey's not a big name, but he's one of the better kick returners in football this year. Then you have the starting running back, Austin Eckler, out. Then you have the two starting defensive ends on this team out. Lattimore tears his ACL last night. There's just so many injuries. There's too many to name off the top of my head right now that it's crazy to think about. The Jaden Daniels one, man, and obviously you never hope for an injury, but dare I say that's the best thing that could have happened to the Commanders is a injury that's not career-threatening to Jaden Daniels. Because putting him behind this team, he was pressured on 42% of his dropbacks last night. 42% of his dropbacks he was pressured on. I mean, at that point, you're just asking for your quarterback to get. That's a Joe Burrow type situation. And Jaden did a great job of getting out of there and making some plays, but 42% of your dropbacks with Deebo Samuel as your wide receiver one. Let's take a look at the wide receiving room right over there right now. Number one in receiving yards on the team is Deebo Samuel. He has 367. He's averaging under 10 yards a catch, which, if you don't know football, that's bad. Zach Ertz is the number two receiver over there. He's going to probably retire at the end of the year. Luke McCaffrey is third, and he hasn't even been a starter for most of the year. Terry McLaurin is fourth. He's played 4 games. Jalen Lane is fifth. Chris Moore. At one point, Robbie Chosen was on this team. Noah Brown has missed 7 games. What do you say? Like, how do you look at Jaden Daniels and you say, hey, Jaden Daniels, Ja'Cory Cross-Get-Merritt, and Chris Rodriguez go out and win us a football game? Like, it's not going to happen. This team is bad, and I don't think it's because of the personnel as much as it is the personnel that's injured. I think it's the personnel that's injured on this team that is really making them bad, because you watch them play healthy. I mean, at the start of the year, yeah, they weren't looking as dominant as they did last year, but how could they? They went 12-5, way overperformed expectations. But they start this year with a win over the Giants. They fell to the Packers. They didn't look great in that game. Then they just completely steamrolled the Raiders with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. Then you put them, the Falcons game was close. Again, Mariota at quarterback. Jaden Daniels returns. They beat the Chargers. And then they lose to the Bears in a close game. Again, the defense just fell apart. And ever since that Bears game, 44 points allowed to the Cowboys, 28 to the Chiefs, 38 to the Seahawks. And I'll be honest with you, the game last night, you hear people all the time when a game, is like a 10-point win. They're like, oh, the scoreboard doesn't tell the whole story. This game was way, way far apart. 38-14 was the final score of this game. And somehow that doesn't tell the full story. Somehow the Commanders were way worse than 38-14 last night. I thought they probably should have lost by 50. I mean, they were down 31-7 at halftime. Sam Darnold had thrown more touchdowns. I think he was 13 of 13 for almost 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half. And they were missing tackles. They couldn't move the ball. The receivers were dropping passes. It was a defeated Washington team last night. And Dan Quinn, leaving Daniels in at the end of the game just poured salt on the wound, and it's a tough go. So let's take a look at where do they go from here. Where do the Commanders go? Because now you got a bunch of old guys on the team. You have the oldest roster in the NFL by almost a year. What do you do with this team? And the realistic choice and the only choice is you sell. You have to get rid of, because Marcus Mariota is not going to be able to take this team to the playoffs. There's just almost no chance. Barring some miracle, there is no chance that Marcus Mariota is going to be able to take this roster to the NFL with all the injuries, with the number 1 receiver being out, with the number 3 receiver being out, with no real starting running back. It's impossible. So where do we go from here? You got to go out. You got to trade Daron Payne. You got to trade some of the better players on that defense, which crazy for me to say that because that defense is really bad. But you have to trade. You have to try to trade Bobby Wagner. You have to try to trade Daron Payne. I don't know if you want to trade Frankie Louvu or not, depending on what you think of him. But, I mean, at this point, the team's too old. The team is way too old. You need to just start retooling now because you're not going to win it this year, and you don't want to run it back with this team next year. So they're going to be sellers at the deadline. I'm almost certain of it. I don't know who sticks around and who doesn't. I would not be shocked to see Deebo Samuel be on the move. It would be one of the more, I don't want to say crazy moves, but it would be an interesting one considering the fact that Deebo has been the only thing on offense this year, and he's been better than people expected. But what's the point of having Deebo Samuel when he's aging and he's not going to be able to lead you to wins and you're not making the playoffs? There's really no point in keeping him on the team. So Deebo's probably on that trading block. You got Daron Payne. You have Johnny Newton, who has been a waste of a second-round pick so far. And then there's so many guys that you could name that you could trade because they're all old and on expiring contracts. So this team is in a rough spot, and that begs the question, and I can't believe I'm saying this in year 2 after the NFC Championship appearance last year. Dan Quinn, is he on the chopping block? Like, is there a chance he gets fired? Because this is a fall from grace like we haven't seen in quite a while. And for Dan Quinn to be at the helm of this again, I get that there's been a lot of injuries, but the NFL's a business, and owners can turn on you like that. They can just immediately do a 180. I mean, look at Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan had less than 2 years over there. And it's crazy because I know Dan Quinn was almost the coach of the year last year and took the team to the NFC Championship, but at the same time, he's losing, and teams and owners, especially when revenue goes down, when teams start to be bad, they look for options quick. They don't look long-term. They look right now. How are we going to be better right now? And Dan Quinn is potentially on that chopping block. I'm not going to say he gets fired today. I'm not going to say he gets fired tomorrow. I was having a conversation earlier with somebody, and they were talking about how he might have bought himself another year, which I completely agree with. I hope he sticks around because I think he is good for that team. But there is a realistic possibility that Dan Quinn is gone. The defensive coordinator should be. That is a matter of time now. But Dan Quinn, just don't be surprised if he gets fired because that defense has been bad and that team has been bad. And I feel really bad. I feel really bad for the Commanders because they haven't had the team out there to do anything with, and it sucks. On the other side, the Seahawks looked unbelievable last night. Now, whether that was a compliment to them or a compliment to the Commanders, don't really know, but can't really discredit the fact that Sam Darnold threw 3 incompletions and 4 touchdowns. There's nothing you could really say to that. Sam Darnold was unbelievable. He was accurate all night. At the end of the game, obviously, he kind of took his foot off the gas pedal with the play calling and made one really weird interception. They didn't even really try to run the ball. Nobody had more than 11 carries because they were just scoring as soon as they touched the ball. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was almost a throwback to like a Monday Night Massacre type of game. The Seahawks really showed out that game and really proved that they're a contender. They took complete advantage of this Washington team. Great job by the Seahawks, and they destroyed that defense. Now, speaking of defense, let's move on to another defense that is really, really struggling right now. And at the start of the year, I was like, yeah, the defense sucks, but it's not going to be that bad, right? It's not going to be historically bad because everybody always likes to jump to conclusions and say they're terrible, they're the worst of all time. I didn't think so. My mind might have changed last week. The Bengals allowed 47 points to the Bears. And not only that, All they had to do was make one stop in the fourth quarter. Just one. Just make one stop they scored with 54 seconds to play. And Caleb Williams then proceeds to lead the team down the field, throw a dart over the middle. Colston Loveland catches it. If you tackle him inbounds, the play clock goes all the way down to about 25 seconds with the Bears, who had no timeouts, by the way. The play clock would go down to about 25 seconds for them to try to get a couple more yards and then set themselves up for a game-winning field goal. But instead, they threw it down the middle. Loveland catches it, is immediately hit by two Bengals defenders who somehow bounce him directly off of them into the end zone. I was it made for some good entertainment, but wow. What a choke. That was unbelievable. And the Bengals defense is historically bad. They are historically bad. They started the season with the Browns, who they held to 16 points, but it's the Browns. They don't have an offense either. The Jaguars put up 27, and then after the week 2, 48 from the Vikings, 28 from the Broncos, 37 from the Lions, 27 from the Packers, 31 from the Steelers, 39 from the Jets, with Justin Fields at the helm, 39 from the Jets, and now 47 from the Bears. So is this team going to ever build a defense? I think the funniest stat coming from this defense is not the defense as a whole. Because you want to look at that. I mean, they're 32nd in points allowed. I mean, they're allowing 33 points a game. That's wow. And they are terrible yardage, 32nd in that. And first downs against, they're 32nd in that. Passing yards against, 31st in that. Passing touchdowns against, 32nd in that. It's unreal how bad they've been defensively. But the funniest part is this offseason they had a couple really bad holdouts because the management structure over there is really bad. They can't really negotiate a contract with anybody, it seems like. But they started it with Trey Hendrickson. Now Trey Hendrickson's injured. And their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, who coming out of the draft, everybody viewed as a prospect, like our project. Like they were like, hey, he could be good, but he's going to have to play for a little while. Well, he missed all of training camp because they were trying to take something out of his contract or he was looking for more assurances, and the Bengals wouldn't give it to him. So the Bengals finally gave in. They finally gave him what he wanted. He's all happy. He's like, now I'm ready to go and prove the people wrong ahead of me, everything. And he has the same number of tackles as he does contract disputes. He has one tackle on the entire season. It's a joke. It's a joke right now in Cincinnati. And for that reason, the question is, are they buyers or sellers this year? The problem is you can't really be a seller because if you're a seller and you're Zach Taylor, the head coach, are you going to get fired if you sell? This has been a recurring thing now with them. They keep doing this. Every other year it seems like they take 2 steps back. And they never built an offensive line for Joe Burrow. Sure, they gave him weapons, but if he can't drop back in time to get to him, then how does that matter? So never built an offensive line, never built a really good or never put a really good running back behind him, never had a great defense behind him, never had a great tight end, never had anything that really would help him outside of his wide receiver core. And the guy at the helm is Zach Taylor, and he's been there long enough. They should be winning by now, and they're not. So the question is, are they buyers or sellers? They have to buy because Zach Taylor doesn't want to get fired. And it's a travesty because Joe Burrow's not coming back this year unless he comes back at the very end of the year. And Joe Flacco's not playing bad. It's just he's not going to be able to – if they're going to allow 47 points to the Bears, who have looked really up and down this year, they had a terrible week last week against the Ravens. If they're going to do that against the Bears – and in the way that they did it, where it looks that bad, the locker room is falling apart right now there, by the way, then how are you going to be buying and bringing new players into that and trying to fix what's so far beyond broken that it's not even fixable? So that's the situation going on in the AFC and the NFC. I mean, you got 2 of the higher potential teams, 2 of the best offenses in the NFL, and they just can't get a stop defensively, and they can't stay healthy. So it's a pretty rough go of it for these 2 teams, but there is plenty more to cover from Week 9 when we come back in 5 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Stevenson Sports Hour with Connor High, where we are covering Week 9 in the NFL. And let's start with the Dolphins firing Chris Grier, their general manager, but keeping Mike McDaniel for at least the rest of the season, at least according to the management right now. The Dolphins obviously have had a really down season for their standards, and that's saying something. And they made the move finally to get rid of probably the most hated guy in that franchise. I mean, I have a Dolphins friend who has been talking about this dude forever. He's been with the organization for 26 years now, and he's been a general manager for about 10 of those. So it's kind of crazy the fact that he stuck around as long as he has with the lack of playoff success. They haven't won a playoff game since 2000, which is ironically the time he joined the team. So, finally gone. Chris Grier was not a great GM for them. Didn't do a lot of good things. And Mike McDaniel, kind of surprised he's sticking around. But he's going to. The Dolphins are going to look to somewhat salvage their season or try to make the most of it or sell to get enough draft picks. Who knows what they're going to try right now. They're 2-7. They're out of the playoff picture, let's be honest. Tua's looked the worst he's ever been, and you can't get out of that contract till at least after the 2026 season. So that's going to be a rough go for them. They're going to try to figure it out. Mike McDaniel's going to be there for at least the end of the year, probably not longer. We'll see how that goes, but it's definitely a train wreck down there right now. But let's look over at the Jacksonville Jaguars as they had Cam Little, their kicker, their young kicker who's had a really rough season, set the NFL record this week with a 68-yard field goal. This was to end the half on a very, very boring first half between the Raiders and Jaguars, and what an exclamation point. This dude hit a 70-yarder in the preseason, so we knew he had it in him. But this season has not been his best. He's hitting very, very few of his field goals as comparison to last year. And he came in, he hit a big kick. And I saw a stat the other day, or I saw the story of the first field goal, like the longest one, the record that stuck for so many years. I think it was 53 years this record stuck. The guy who had it before him was a kicker for the New Orleans Saints who had a had a square-toed boot. Like he had no toes, which was crazy. No-toed kicker. Don't see that often. And the story about him has been going crazy this past week now that they've broken the record again. But I never heard that one before. It's kind of crazy to look at. Cam Little, though, this year, he's 13 of 17, which is not good. But the 68-yarder, wow. And he's got more in him, too. I'm surprised Aubrey didn't break it before him. Brandon Aubrey will break it eventually when he gets the chance. But Cam Little, 68 yards. What a story that was. What an exclamation point to end the first half over there. Let's talk about another exciting matchup. We had the Chiefs and Bills, probably just all in all the best rivalry in the NFL right now, as far as these two teams have been really good for a long time. And Mahomes versus Allen has been a really good matchup between two of the top three quarterbacks undoubtedly in football. So you got two of these guys going at it every week, and Mahomes really did not play well. He was 15 of 34, which is a career-low 44% completion percentage. Again, the problem with this Chiefs team is they can't get anything going on the ground. So if Mahomes struggles, they don't have a running attack to back him up. So they couldn't really make up the ground in this game. The pass rush for the Bills was phenomenal as well. Josh Allen had a great game on the other side. James Cook continues to have his amazing season, really underrated season actually, because everybody's looking at Jonathan Taylor as far as the season he's having. James Cook has 867 yards and 7 touchdowns and is averaging over 5 yards a carry. It's been a really good season. It was a really good offseason extension by the Bills. Really good decision there. And, man, he has been such a difference maker for them. And this is a big win. And I know this is the same thing we say every week where it's like, okay, or every season where we talk about, okay, well, the Bills beat them in the regular season, but when we get to the postseason, it's going to be the Chiefs again. Regardless of whether the Bills lose in the playoffs to them this year, this is a big win for them because you can carry that confidence into the playoffs. Because if you lose this game, yeah, you got a little bit of chip on your shoulder. But at this point, you're basically the Chiefs own the Bills. And they just don't lose to them for some reason. When it comes to needing to win a game, the Chiefs don't lose to the Bills. And this game right here kind of could make it difficult on the Chiefs because now the Bills are going for that 1 seed with the Patriots and with the Colts, and the Chiefs are kind of out of the contention for that now, which is unfamiliar territory to them. So this could be a really big win. We could see the Chiefs spiral. I think they're going to be fine, but this is a good win to take into the playoffs, a good win for the Bills. They needed this one. The Chiefs, obviously don't really need anything because they're the Chiefs. They're going to find a way to make the playoffs, and I'm sure they'll end up back in the Super Bowl again. But they did not look as good. They just didn't play as well. They don't have the offense to really keep up with one of these higher powered teams. So it's going to have to be Mahomes all year. But let's look at another one of the offenses. On the topic of offense, the most efficient offense in NFL history before this season was the New England Patriots in 2007 with Randy Moss. And for some reason this year, Daniel Jones decided that he was Tom Brady, and he wanted to be the most efficient offense in the league. So he has been just unbelievable with Jonathan Taylor until they faced the Steelers yesterday. In Pittsburgh, the Steelers forced 6 turnovers on Daniel Jones and won the game 27-20. Wow, this is classic Steelers, right? I mean, the Steelers play everybody like at their level great, and they play people below their level like terribly, and they always have one-score games on repeat. And it's so Steelers of them. I should have seen it coming. I should have seen this team doing this week. It's just unbelievable that Mike Tomlin does this consistently. 27-20, TJ Watt was unblockable against the number one offensive line in the NFL. Daniel Jones was still good. I mean, I know he turned the ball over a lot, but he still had a really nice day through the air. As far as consistency and accuracy, he was still great. And Jonathan Taylor was just bottled up. The Steelers did a great job and completely shocked me. Even though you look back on it, it's like, yeah, should have seen that one coming. But, man, the Steelers, I wish we would have seen that from them earlier because then I would have believed in them a little bit more. But now they're starting to pick it up, and we'll see if they can carry that momentum into next week. We'll see if the Colts are going to bounce back, which I'm sure they will. They still played a very solid game. And then the team that is just so confusing to me, the team that I can't quite wrap my head around and this is why I can't put them as the best team in the NFC or up in that conversation, is the Green Bay Packers. What are we doing over there in Green Bay? Because Jordan Love was just, there's no other way to put this, bad. Terrible game from Jordan Love. They were playing the Panthers. They lost 16-13. And he just was bad. He just had a bad game. And Jacobs was fine. But he just had a bad game, and he had a couple balls that really should have been intercepted. He threw one in the end zone that could not have been handed any better to a defensive back, who a lot of times you see lapses in coverage where a receiver's open by like 10 yards downfield. That was what it looked like, but to a defensive back, and the guy dropped it. Could have very easily been an 100-yard pick six, which would have really iced it. But they tried to make a late-game comeback, but I watched this game from start to finish, and the Packers never got a flow going on offense until their final drive. And even on their final drive, they had a lot of just like inconsistent, off-timing plays. And it's just not what you want to see from a team that's 5-2 and 1 because they tied the Cowboys. It's just such an inconsistent franchise. Like I don't like it. I don't like what I'm seeing from the Packers. I know they're good, and I know they're gonna probably end up as like a 2 seed or up there in that conversation, but I just hate seeing teams this good perform this bad against teams they should destroy. I mean, the Panthers are a solid team, don't get me wrong. They're 5-4 this year, but they are not on the Packers level, and they should not have been able to play them as well as they did. And the Packers just really shot themselves in the foot. They did not play not play good football. Offense was really bad, and their defense played fine, but 13 points and 7 of them coming on like the final drive of the game. Yeah, Jordan Love didn't look good. This is going to be a game the Packers can bounce back from. But that was a wrap of last week, so let's take a look forward into some of the big matchups from this week, starting with the Rams and the 49ers. So when you look at the NFC West, you look at a hyper-competitive division because you have the Seahawks at 6-2 at the top right now. Then you have the Rams at 6-2, and then you have the Cardinals at 6, or the 49ers at 6-3. Whoa, like where did that come from? You have all of these teams at 6 wins. They are the best division in football right now, which a little shocking considering how many injuries San Francisco had and the question marks around what was Sam Darnold going to be. Well, we figured that one out pretty quick. Yeah, they're kind of crazy. And just another quick update: the Cardinals are beating the Cowboys right now, 17-7 at halftime. Another shocker there. But yeah, Rams 49ers NFC West matchup. These two teams have been really playing well. I'm going to be honest. If I'm the 49ers, I would leave Mac Jones in for this game. Mac Jones has been playing great football. Just such a weird NFL season, but great football. And Brock Purdy, when he's been in, has not been at the same level that Mac Jones was. So if Mac Jones is playing in this game, I know at home doesn't really matter when the Rams are right next door. I like the 49ers. The 49ers have been playing consistently good offense all year. And I know that Stafford's in the MVP race. Puka's great. Devontae Adams is great. But I really like this 49ers team just because they're able to win no matter who they're playing against, no matter who's at quarterback. And Kyle Shanahan's got that team moving. So I really like the 49ers in that one. Then you got the Patriots at the Buccaneers. Patriots have been playing phenomenal football all year. They had a down week this week and still won. The Buccaneers started the year as the best team in the NFL maybe, and then kind of trended off towards their bye week. Now, coming out of that bye week, they're getting healthy again. Don't have the receiving room you thought they'd have with Mike Evans being out for maybe the whole year. But I still think Baker Mayfield pulls that one out. I like Drake May, but I think Baker Mayfield's going to be able to win that one. And then Jaguars at Texans. Jaguars have played really good football. Texans don't really have a great offense right now. I love the Jaguars in that matchup, but it should be a tight game. And then the Ravens at Vikings. Now, this one right here is interesting because the win for the Steelers last week was the worst possible thing that could have happened to the Ravens because the Ravens were on their bye, and they're 3-5 now. So they were on their bye last week, and then they played the Dolphins this week, got a big win, right? That's what you needed. You needed a big win coming off that bye week. And then the Steelers kind of matched them. So they were hoping to gain some ground with the Colts coming into town, but the Steelers, to their credit, played really well. So the Ravens need every game they can get to get back into that top spot. And I think they do take this at the Vikings, even though the Vikings had such a good week last week at Detroit. I still think they take this game against the Vikings. But that is a wrap on this week in the NFL. When we come back, we'll be looking at the closing games of the World Series and the NBA in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Stevenson Sports Hour with Connor Howard, where we are looking at the World Series, which is now over with the Dodgers going back-to-back. Hasn't happened in the MLB since the Yankees did it 3 times from 1998 to 2000, and they're the first NL team to do it since the Reds did it back in the 70s. Let's start with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Whoa, what a phenomenal World Series he had. I mean, he's now appeared in his career. Last year in the World Series, he appeared against the Yankees. 1 start, 6 1/3, 1 hit, 1 run. Wow. And then this World Series, he had 2 starts, and then he started Game 6, and then decides to come back in Game 7 and pitch 2 2/3 more innings and seal up that game as well. I mean, just an unbelievable World Series. Pitches himself into one of those like all-time great World Series performers situations. Over 4 games in the World Series, he is 4-0 with an ERA of 1.13 and 19 strikeouts. Hard to beat those numbers. It really is. I mean, he had such a good World Series and very deserving World Series MVP. Just a legendary performance from him. And Miguel Rojas, let's just talk about the Dodgers for a second, because everybody hates on the Dodgers for having superstar after superstar, and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and then Yamamoto and Snell, and you could go on a tangent about all of these guys. Miguel Rojas came from the Miami Marlins as a defensive specialist, and in Game 7, Dave Roberts trusts him enough to go up in the big moment and put the swing of his life on a ball against Jeff Hoffman, a pretty good reliever in his own right, and put up a game-tying home run in the 9th inning. What an unbelievable moment. What a swing. It reminded me a lot of Rajai Davis's home run, where it was like, whoa, he did that? In this one is, I think, even a little crazier because Miguel Rojas is not much of a hitter. Like I said, he's a defensive guy, and for him to come out and do that, what a game, what a swing, and what an unbelievable series. I mean, this series, going into it, I'll be honest with you, I was like, oh well, it's the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. You have a team from Toronto who not many people care too much about, and you have the Dodgers who everybody hates. But now you look at it, and you're going to look back on this series, and you're going to say, what was that? That was one of the best series I've ever watched in my lifetime. You had the Dodgers just coming back and winning that game in Game 7. You had the Blue Jays completely owning the Dodgers in L.A. I mean, from start to finish, there was action. It was never a dull moment in this series. Great pitching on both sides and timely hitting on both sides. The Blue Jays were, so close to their first championship ring since '92, and so close. It was so close. I mean, Miguel Rojas again made an amazing play in the ninth inning to keep him out of it. Will Smith hit the game-winning or go-ahead home run, as you will, and it was such a good series. So happy that I was wrong about it being a boring series where the Blue Jays just get smoked. The Dodgers played well. The Blue Jays played maybe better, and what a series. Just what a series. But that was it for the MLB. That's it. Season's over now. Let's move into the NBA. Let's talk about one of the more exciting rookies in the NBA. No, I'm not talking about Cooper Flagg. I'm talking about VJ Edgecombe. This dude, I know he's putting up crazy stats. He's just fun to watch. You put his tape on, you put the highlights on, you put whatever you want, you will find so many things that you're like, whoa, he tried that in game? I mean, he's trying to dunk on everybody. He reminds me of Anthony Edwards a little bit in the ambition he had in his first year where he's just going up to dunk on everybody. The dude is trying to dunk on everybody. He's averaging 25 and 5 on the dot, and the dude is just flying through the air. It is so fun. And you don't see that like often unless you're like a role player like Derek Jones loves to do that. But this guy is just trying to dunk on everybody. Everybody's a target right now, and he is taking advantage of it. It's fun to watch. It's really made me watch the Sixers more this year, and it's been a big part of why the Sixers are good. He's been so good for them as a rookie. And Embiid is still getting back to full health, and Maxey, wow. We'll get to Tyrese Maxey in a minute when I bring up the MVP conversation. But wow, he's had a great start of the year as well. Let's talk about another guard, and then we're going to move all the way to the West Coast here. Talking about Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is averaging 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. Austin Reeves, the undrafted shooting guard. I mean, whoa. It was not what you expected. And I know he's really shown promise the past few years, and Lakers fans love him. He averaged 20 last season, but the dude has stepped it up this year. He had a 50-point outburst a few weeks ago, and wow, the dude's been fun to watch. He's been playmaking. With Luka out, he's really been stepping into that Luka role. It's been fun. It's been really fun. I hope he keeps this up, because if he does, this Lakers team's going to be really good. And people have been saying the Lakers are going to be good for a while. If this guy is a great guy, I think they're going to maybe have him come off the bench, depending on what their rotation looks like, because you got Luka and LeBron on the front. So there's a lot less opportunities for Reeves. But man, I mean, he's made such an impact on this team. He's kept them afloat with all the injuries they've had, and with LeBron and Luka both missing time. So he's been really good, and it's been a really fun watch. Now, obviously this wasn't a hot take, but the Thunder are still the Thunder. This team is unreal. They are just running through the NBA right now. It's the second straight season they've started 7-0, which they are the only undefeated team in the NBA. And they're better than everybody. You could see it. Their depth is ridiculous. Sam Presti, I mean, you might as well build a statue now for Sam Presti, because this dude is ridiculous. I mean, he's put together one of the best teams, top to bottom, we've ever seen. So Thunder are best team in the NBA right now. They're continuing that. They're showing that. And let's take a look. I know that most of these aren't hot takes, but I'm going to get to a big name here in a second. Just take a look at some of the guys who are really kind of showing that they're here for the MVP this year. You got Wembanyama, you got Giannis, you got Jokic, you got Shea looking to go back-to-back. You have Luka, who's been amazing. I guess you could throw Austin Reeves in that as well. But the guy that has really taken a step up to be a number one option, outside of where he was kind of drafted to be the number 2 option to Joel Embiid, that's Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is really taken this Sixers team and just made it his. He's averaging 33, 5, and 9 right now on really good shooting splits. I know we're 6 games into the season, but the dude has been on fire, and everybody knows how much of a scorer this guy is. But if he's going to average 9 assists, or if he's going to average close to that, he's going to have a really good shot at the MVP if the Sixers stay this good, and if they're a actual threat there in the playoffs, which would be a rare situation where you have 2 MVPs on the same team, with Embiid and him, and who knows, maybe the Rookie of the Year in VJ Edgecombe if he keeps playing the way he does. But yeah, the NBA's tipped off. It's looking fun this year. You got a lot of points being scored. And that is a wrap for this week in Stevenson Sports. This is Connor High. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week to do it all again.